In Ultimate Wolverine number 5 from Marvel Comics, Logan shows up to a bar to pick a fight with the Ultimate Sabretooth. Is it the big brawl you've been waiting for? Let's find out in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to Comical Opinions. I've not been a huge fan of this series. Chris Condon takes that slow burn stuff that we loved from his indie stories like That Texas Blood and the Enfield Gang Massacre, but when he applies it into Marvel superhero action comics, slow burn usually doesn't work out too well, and that's been the case here. However, this time, I've got to give him credit for a ripping, shredding, flesh-tearing introduction to the Ultimate Sabretooth. It makes sense that Vlad, who is his name in this universe, it's not Victor, would be the only person who could hold his own against Logan. So his entrance is a memorable one, even if the run's pacing is still god-awful slow. Let's break it down and explain how we came to that conclusion, starting with what's great about Ultimate Wolverine number 1. Longtime Marvel readers who love a good Sabretooth versus Wolverine fight will love this issue. The setup organically brings Sabretooth into the Ultimate Universe with a hook that makes sense for his character and the region in which they're located, and that setup helps to set the foundation for what happens next, both for Logan and for the series moving forward. And that brings us to the other side of the coin, and what's not great about Ultimate Wolverine number 5. The problem with this issue is the same problem we've had with almost every issue. It's all set up and no payoff in a series that's not in a hurry to get anywhere anytime soon. Once Sabretooth is introduced, the issue is nothing but one big fight with a semi-predictable outcome. In a universe of titles that are supposed to be gearing up for the Maker's return in a matter of months, sometime in October or November or thereabouts, Condon appears to be content to have oversimplified plots that contrive an excuse for Logan to go into berserker mode without paying off the setup or the cliffhanger from the previous issue. Here's a very clear example of that lack of payoff in action. In the previous issue, that wow moment, the big one that really said, ooh, that's cool, was the unveiling in the last page of Jean Grey as the source of what they called the cerebellum, a mix of mutant and machine bonded together and designed for mind control. So you think that, oh, okay, we're going to get some Jean Grey action. She's now attached to this machine and she's part of her brain and her skull are detached from her body. It's really gross and creepy and weird. We're going to see what that really means. Nope. In Ultimate Wolverine number 5, Condon does nothing with that cliffhanger. It's completely ignored and he acts like it didn't even happen. So there's no way to keep readers invested if the few brief wow moments you get don't pay off and don't go anywhere. Let's switch gears for a second and talk about the art. So we have guest artist Alex Lenz, who's stepping in for Alessandro Cappuccio, and the art quality doesn't miss a beat. There's definitely a difference in their styles. They're not exactly similar, but they both have a strong mastery of grim, dark, edgy grittiness and bloody violence to pull this series off and to bring life to this particular script. Lenz isn't shy about depicting gore. You do get plenty of it, but it's well done and not gratuitous. It's not over the top just for the sake of being gory. It makes sense within the context of the fight. So you get a primal story that helps you appreciate how violent and intimidating these two characters can be, primarily through the visuals. And if you're not sure what we mean, here's a recap of what happened to Logan, also known as Ultimate Wolverine, also known as Winter Soldier, in Ultimate Wolverine number 4. The issue took a kind of a trippy turn when Wolverine dreamt of a wolf fighting a polar bear in the snowy woods. It turned out that the majority of that fight, which took up the majority of the issue, was really sort of a metaphor or a symbolic battle that never really took place. The narration and dialogue that happened over the fight conveyed that Logan was waking up from his stasis chamber and posed an imminent threat to the doctors and the soldiers in his holding facility. The issue ended with lots of bodies and the good doctor finally coming to take Logan down to the one place where she can get his mind recontrolled, and it was Jean Grey, now trapped in this machine as Cerebellum. And that brings us to the nitty-gritty of Ultimate Wolverine number 5. We catch up with the character named Vlad Kradovsky, who you might be familiar with as Victor Creed, also known as the Ultimate Sabretooth. He's an ex-soldier who runs a bar in town, and he's pretty chill, pretty peaceful, pretty relaxed. He also happens to be participating in an underground railroad for mutants to help them escape the Eurasian Republic, who is currently under control by Magic and Colossus. On this night, Vlad closes up shop early and waits for a driver to arrive to spirit away 2 mutants he hides in his cellar. One of them is Leech. The uneventful evening gets a little crazy when the Winter Soldier just shows up at Vlad's bar. We don't know how he got there. We don't know why he went to this particular location at this particular time or what he intended to do when he got there. He just shows up. What follows is a pretty brutal and bloody fight between Wolverine and Sabretooth, involving lots of chunks being ripped out, limbs being severed, and what have you. With each slash and blow, Vlad remembers a fireside chat he had with his old friend Logan when they were still soldiers together about making sure the enemy never takes him alive to be used as a weapon. The bar fight tips in Logan's favor, but the fight is interrupted when the expected driver, Natasha, also known as Black Widow, shows up and hits Logan with several tranquilizer darts. They take effect because Leech is in the room and he happens to be dampening Logan's healing factor. The issue ends with Vlad and Natasha loading an unconscious Logan into the back of the transport along with the other refugees to take them to their mutant resistance group. Final thoughts, what do we think about Ultimate Wolverine number 5? It's long on brutal, bloody action and short on plot or payoff when Logan pays a visit to the Ultimate Sabretooth. Chris Condon's scene, construction, and setup are pretty top-notch, and the brutal fight brought to life by Alex Lins is amazing. That said, great action and art can't cover for a lack of payoff for the last issue's cliffhanger or the painfully slow plot progression. Therefore, Ultimate Wolverine number 5 from Marvel Comics earns a 6 out of 10. I like 6 out of 10. I like what they're trying to do here, and I think this has the potential to be a really great series, but nothing is happening other than moments and fights that are just put together with a paper-thin excuse. There's got to be more meat to the story, and I'm just not getting it here, and we're not going anywhere in particular. And something's got to change about the pacing. That applies for all the Ultimate titles. But you know what? Let me know what you think. Are you particularly satisfied with this story and how it's progressing? Or like me, do you want a little bit more meat on the bone? Let me know in the comments. So, thank you very much for joining, and stay tuned through the outro for more reviews just like this one.